Hey, what's going on, guys? Bot Mentality here. Today I'm bringing you another video, and this one will be on the Relative Strength Index. So I'll go into a little bit more detail about what that is, how it does, how I use it, and how you can use it in your trading to make serious profits. So first, what is the Relative Strength Index, referred to as the RSI? What is a very popular indicator that many traders use, and the reason they use it is for two reasons. Number one, the psychological aspect. Because it's such a popular indicator, the more people that use it, the more people see the price levels it indicates, or the strength, the overbought and oversold levels it indicates. The more people that use it, the bigger the move and the stronger the support or the stronger the resistance. So that's one reason people use it. And the second reason is also because it's pretty accurate, guys. It's pretty spot on, and just using the default settings, you'll see it'll be a great asset to your trading. And it just calculates a different price history and volume history, and that factors all into the number it gives you. So first, we'll go ahead and jump in on how to add it to your chart. The first thing you're going to do is, I'm on TradingView right now. You'll right click in the middle of the chart and you'll scroll down to Insert Indicator. You'll click that. This is going to bring up the search window, and go ahead in the top left corner, go ahead and type in RSI and hit enter, and you're going to see the Relative Strength Index. You click that there and it'll go ahead and bring it up here on your chart. And you can also adjust how much of your chart you'd like for it to take up. You can just set that to whatever you'd like it to be at. So one thing I need to go ahead and bring up about the RSI as we jump into this is that each different time frame you go to, the number it calculates is going to be different. And to make this a little bit easier for you, I'll show you how to add one more thing to your charts. Go ahead and look on the sidebar here where you see the different prices listed and the different RSI levels. Go ahead and right click over here on the right and click Indicator Last Value. And what that's doing is it's going to show you exactly where it is right now. And that little box makes it helpful. I have that on my Bitcoin, or my different coins I have up here as well. So go ahead and put that on. So again, the Relative Strength Index, the RSI, will change depending on the time frame you're looking at. You need to keep that in perspective. So say we're on the 1 hour right now, and you see the RSI levels at 37.258. If we were to go to the 5 minute, the RSI is going to change, and see now we're at 46.55. Now you need to keep in mind that, of course, the larger the time frame, the more data it picks up. Usually the lower the number that would be, or the higher it would be depending on the scenario we're in. But the more accurate it would be to determine on that time frame where we're at. For example, if you're trading on a 5 minute chart and you're looking at Bitcoin, you see here we're right in the middle. So we're not too overbought, not too oversold relative to the most recent 5-10 minute prior price action. If you were to go to the daily, the RSI is going to be at 32. So you can see that we're very much approaching those oversold levels of sub 30 is what I like to look at. So those are your references. Now this white line here can indicate 70, and this dotted white line here on the top indicates 70 on the RSI, and that bottom line indicates 30. You can change those to what you want. I prefer to keep an eye on those two levels, especially the 30 and the 60. For me to determine with my trading on the 1 hour, 4 hour charts, overbought and oversold. But that's just me. So you can kind of see how this works. So one thing you'll notice is that the highs here with Bitcoin, this move right here is kind of reflected. Oh, oops, drew that pretty bad. This move right here is also reflected in the RSI right here. You see how they kind of look similar. So now you can kind of see how the accuracy of the RSI and how you can use it to sort of predict where to buy and where to sell. Another thing I'll notice here, I'll notice here is if you look here on the bottom, when we dipped below the 30 RSI into the oversold territory right here, we also bottomed in Bitcoin. Isn't that interesting? So essentially, if you were sitting here watching that 30 RSI level and waited for it to occur in Bitcoin, and the moment it did here on the daily, if you were to buy, you would essentially bought at 6,000. Isn't that crazy? So that's just something that kind of shows why the RSI can be so powerful. Of course, there's different levels to look at. Everyone trades different time frames, but that's something to keep in mind. Now, what I like to do with the RSI, I like to use it in conjunction with prior support and resistance to determine where I'm going to trade. So, for example, in this scenario, I wouldn't have just looked at, okay, we're at the 30, the RSI says buy. What I would have done is I would have used it in conjunction with different things. So, for example, Bitcoin selling off down from 20,000 all the way down to 6. If I'm trying to figure out where to buy, I'd say, okay, I know I want to buy when the RSI is oversold, and we did get that right here. I'd say, okay, and I also want to buy into prior support, okay, which would be right into this level here, this 5,500 level. Go ahead and draw that line. And those would be the two main factors I want to see along with a multi-day sell-off. And we got that. And so when you look at the chart here and you see we got that 30 RSI, we're pulling back to prior support, that would be a good entry point in my mind. And those are things you need to look for. I remember this was definitely a crazy day back in February. I missed this time period. That was awesome. But that's one of the examples of one of the ways you can use the RSI in correlation with support and resistance. You can also use it to set buy and sell targets. So for example, I'll go ahead and jump off the 1 day. We'll jump over here to the 30 minute to set buy and sell targets. So right here, let's say you're focused on that 30 RSI level. As soon as we hit 30 on the RSI, you'll notice this pullback right here on the 30 minute. Sorry about that, little lag there. We see this pullback here on the 30 minute when we've reached that 30 on the RSI. So if you would have bought at 30 in RSI, you'd see that you would have bought in here near at the bottom, and we had this pull up. And now I'm looking to buy into the 30, right? To sub 30 levels. You're looking to buy into sub 30 on the RSI, the oversold levels, and you can set price targets to buy and also sell. So I'm looking to sell as we approach the 60 RSI levels. So for me, being a very short-term trader, I tend to look at the 30 RSI, make a buy, and as soon as we're approaching the 60 level, right here, I'd be looking to go ahead and sell out. So that's one thing that you can pay attention to and I would use. And remember, not every time will we actually continue upwards like this, and everyone has their different time frames, but that's a good example of when I'd be looking. If you're looking to make a quick trade and just be done for the day, buy the 30, sell the 60, right? So that's a strategy you can use regarding the RSI levels. And as long as you keep in mind support and resistance in the history of whichever chart you're looking at, whichever coin you're looking at, this can be a very effective strategy. All right. And now one thing I'd like to point out too, so the relative strength index can also predict the future in a sense. The reason why I say that, there's certain patterns you can look for, and for example, one would be this right here. So the most recent action here on Bitcoin, what you'll notice is that you'll see that Bitcoin is in a slow grind upwards right here, slow grind upwards. But if you go look at the RSI level, you'll see that we had peaked right here at about 76 RSI right there, and we've been heading down since, making lower highs. Now, why? So in this situation, the RSI is actually different from the price action. You'll see the RSI is making lower highs and lower lows while we're making higher lows on Bitcoin. In these sort of scenarios, you assume that this can actually signal a sell-off when you see that we're not being overbought more and we're encountering more selling pressure, if that makes sense. And so what happened after you see this downtrending here and these lower highs right here, we saw that Bitcoin did indeed start to pull back, and it pulled back quick from that point. So that's something you can look for. If you see, you see consolidation or higher lows on the underlying security, and then you see on the RSI, it starts to trend downward as far as lower highs and lower lows, then you can get us following downward move. And also it's the same thing in the opposite direction. It's something to look at. And one last thing I'd like to call out here regarding the RSI, just for you to pay attention to, is that when we are oversold for, an extended period of time, oops, I accidentally deleted off my charts there. When we're oversold for an extended period of time, the RSI tends to hover horizontally or hover at oversold levels. So I'll go ahead and pull up the 1 hour here. Okay, and let me back it out a little bit more to make it look a little bit less choppy. So in this situation where we had this sell-off right here in Bitcoin, we pulled down to this selling levels, let's say right here, and you'll notice in this area we had that huge sell-off, which is reflected right here in the RSI. But after that, it pretty much went sideways. And as you can see with Bitcoin, we had bumps upwards and back downwards, but the RSI really just hover sideways, and it tends to do that. The more oversold we get, it tends to just kind of hover sideways, even though we're pulling back pretty significantly. Like right here, like as you can see, the difference between this price level right here and the price level right here is pretty significant, but the RSI really did just stay in this tight range. It stayed in this tight range around the 40 RSI and didn't really decrease that much. So that's something to keep in mind when you're looking at a large data set. You'd want extreme oversold RSIs. You'd want extreme oversold RSIs in order to take that long position, because of the fact that, once it starts hitting lows, it just keep dropping. Like, we'll rarely see, sub 10 RSI, for example. But that's a little bit more advanced, but this is really the basics, guys, of how you can use it. Remember to use it in correlation with previous support and resistance. You need to be paying attention to volume, and keep an eye on the 30 and 60 on shorter time frames and the 30 and 70 on longer time frames. So that's it, guys. I really wanted to keep this video short, just kind of show you how to jump in with your first indicator and start learning how to use that with your trading, and that's just applicable information for you. So that's it, guys. Again, this is Bot Mentality, and remember, trade like a machine. Have a good one.